Wander Wealthy Podcast, episode 200. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Wander Wealthy Podcast. My name is Tess. I am the host of this show, founder of Wander Wealthy, and business coach for all the money coaches, financial coaches, and wealth coaches of the world. And today is our 200th episode. Can you believe it? I certainly cannot. It has been such a special journey working on this podcast, starting out really all in the personal finance space. I remember feeling so nervous when I first started. I remember feeling unqualified to interview people. And the reason I interviewed people was because I felt unqualified to talk about personal finance, just me. I mean, there's so much growth through this podcast. If you go back and actually listen to some of those early episodes, I took a break for a while. I was going through my own journey of figuring out who I was as a business owner, and here we are. So let that be a lesson to you to see that, you might start something, and even if you're not 100% certain that this is the path you're going to be on for forever, don't let that stop you from starting, because you can absolutely pivot. You can change your mind. You can choose to do something different, and people will still be around. You'll find your audience, or the audience will shift with you, and it's a beautiful, beautiful journey. So in honor of the 200th episode and us wrapping up officially, because when this goes live, it's New Year's Eve of 2020, a year I think we're more than happy to leave behind. And so I wanted to share 20 major lessons that I've learned, and hopefully they're lessons that I can pass along to you if you haven't experienced them or learned them quite yet. And these are ultimately from the 4 years of doing this podcast and for me building my financial coaching business. First, it was really just financial education, and then it turned into financial coaching. And now it's a little bit of both financial coaching, but even more so, obviously, with the podcast episodes, business coaching for financial coaching business. So we are going to just rattle through these. I hope we can make this a quick and dirty episode so you can get on with your day, enjoy the New Year's Eve and New Year's Day whenever you end up listening to this. I mean, maybe you'll be listening to this in like 2024 in the middle of July, and that's great too. Hope life is fabulous for you. But we're just going to kind of rattle through some of these lessons. So before we dive into the 20 lessons, let me just share with you the sponsor of this week's episode, and that is the Online Coaches Pricing Workbook. It's a workbook I developed for you if you are an online coach or you're thinking about jumping into the online space and coaching or really offering your services to anyone. And what we do is we help you price your services. Pricing was one of the big things that kept me held back for a long time. I definitely way undercharged when I first started, and having had something like this would have just changed the game for me. I remember just crunching numbers all the time and then still not knowing if it was really a good price point or not. And I think what a lot of people end up doing is just throwing the price at the wall like spaghetti and seeing if it sticks. Otherwise, we, look to our right and look to our left at our competition and see what they're charging. And then we think, okay, we'll just charge that. The truth is, you can't do that. That's a big mistake. We talk about some of the mistakes in the workbook, but that is one big one. You have to price based off your own numbers, based off your own goals, based off of your business. And that is what the workbook is for. So you can grab the workbook for $27 by going to wanderwealthy.com/podcast. You can get the workbook for free if you would like by leaving this podcast a rating and a review. And you would do that on iTunes in the Apple, I don't even know what it's called anymore, Apple iTunes store. Search for Wander Wealthy Podcast and then go through that process. Or if you're listening to this episode on the Apple Podcasts app, then you can certainly leave a rating and review through the app. Also, make sure you're subscribed to the show so you can always have a fresh new episode every Thursday. But if you leave a rating and a review, take a screenshot and then email it to me, tess@wanderwealthy.com. Once I receive it, confirm that the review has been posted, which it can take a couple days. So just be patient with that. It's Apple Podcasts deal, not mine. But once I confirm that, then I will send you your free workbook. Otherwise, if you don't want to go through the trouble, which you should go through the trouble. I mean, it's great to get things for free, but also leaving a rating and a review for this podcast really helps us. It helps more money coaches find the resources that they need to build their own businesses so that we can all be impacting more lives. So that's what the rating and review really does for the show. So we would appreciate you doing it no matter what. But you can also purchase the workbook at wanderwealthy.com/workbook. All right, let's dive in to lesson number 1. And I should mention, these aren't in any particular order. They're just literally, I sat down and I was like, what are some of the biggest lessons I've learned over the last 4 years? So we're just going to dive into them. But I don't have any technical structure other than I've just numbered them. Okay. So lesson number 1 is done is better than perfect. Okay, done is better than perfect. Perfectionism is procrastination in disguise. And the truth is, people they don't know if you could have done something better, right? And people are not as detail oriented or focused so much, or even if they do notice something that is a little out of whack or a little different or maybe a little mistake, it's not such a big deal that they're going to be like, give me my money back, or she doesn't know what she's talking about, right? The fact is, we get so obsessed with having things be perfect, and I think it's because of the school system that maybe we went through, or maybe just how we were raised as children. And in this online business game, you just got to ship. You got to ship your creation. You can't worry about having it be perfect. Just ship your creation and then know that you can improve upon it the next go around, okay? So progress is always going to be better than perfection. Done is better than perfect. Number 2, this one kind of, it's a good roll off of number 1. People aren't paying that close of attention. Okay, so do the thing that you're worried about and don't feel the need to explain yourself. This one comes from my experience, especially when I was really thinking about pivoting, and I was so worried that I would have to come out and make a big announcement about a pivot. And sure, I did sometimes, but it would take me a long time to even think through making that decision. And decisions are things in business that the faster you make them, the faster you'll move forward. So don't worry so much about other people being like, oh, all of a sudden she's helping business owners instead of individuals. That was my big kind of hiccup for a long time, was when I was pivoting into working with business owners instead of traditionally employed individuals on their finances. And I just thought about it for so long because I was so worried about confusing people, which yeah, if you pivot a bunch in a short amount of time, people will be confused. But also, people aren't paying that close attention to a lot of the things. So just remember that the only person that matters when it comes to what people think is yourself and your ideal clients, but mostly yourself. 3, be clear, not clever. If it feels like a stretch, it's a stretch. If you have to explain it, it's a stretch. So even though you might like alliteration, or you want things to sound really cool, or you want to have a really unique story behind your name or something, if you have to explain it, it's a stretch. Focus on being clear, because first impressions are everything, right? And if you can't capture someone's attention within 7 seconds, they're gone. So be clear instead of clever, so that you're not having to further explain yourself. Number 4, you can decide to just show up on one platform and neglect all of the others and still end up with a 6-figure business. I think that I am finally proof of that. And I say finally because for a long time I was trying to show up on every single platform and do all the things. And that made me have to do more work. And so my energy and my focus was so split that I wasn't focusing in the one place where a majority of my clients were hanging out to convert them into paying clients. Or I guess the one place my ideal clients were hanging out. They weren't clients yet, but focus on one platform. It's totally okay. You do not have to be everywhere no matter what all those other marketers say. You can just pick one, neglect all the others, and still end up just fine. Number 5, speaking of 6-figure business, I think this is super important. Let's normalize building a 5-figure business, or even let's normalize side hustling instead of worrying about going full time. Let's celebrate hitting a 1K month milestone. That's freaking amazing. It's freaking amazing to make $100 for the first time. Let's normalize these wins. I was going to say small wins, but they're not even small. They're huge. And it's okay to celebrate that. And I know that, the bar is constantly being raised, especially when you look at what the marketers are talking about. Now it's constantly like your 10K month, your 20K month, your 6-figure year, your everything. But the truth is you can live a great life, have an amazing business. If you could make a 5-figure, let's say $50,000 in your business, working 20 hours a week, that's the equivalent of someone working 40 hours for $100,000, right? So technically you have a 6-figure business then, right? Like from a scalability standpoint. But the truth is you can choose not to work more, and you can also choose that you don't need more money. Now, on one hand, I don't want to cap your abundance, because you are more than capable of bringing in as much money as you want in as little of time as you from a need to work standpoint, because money and time technically, especially in entrepreneurship, they're not correlated, right? You can uncorrelate money and time, and that's a hard thing to wrap your mind around. However, so I'm not putting a cap on what you can manifest or how you want to feel abundant about the income, but you have not failed if you didn't cross into a 6-figure business threshold, or if you didn't get a 10K month, right? It's totally normal and acceptable and exciting AF if you if you have a 5-figure business, if you make $1,000 a month, if you make your first $100 sale, okay? Number 6, people aren't paying for your time or the number of videos you're creating. They are paying for the transformation you help to facilitate for them. Okay? This is again where we have to separate time equals money, because the truth is value equals money. And what is value when it comes to money coaching? It's the transformation you can help facilitate for your clients. And in a lot of ways, you can quantify that, right? Maybe it's helping them save an extra $5,000, or maybe it's helping them pay off debt a lot faster, and then you can quantify it both in the speed that you help them pay it off as well as the interest that you save them. There's so many different ways that you can quantify the money coaching and the value that you provide, but you also have non-quantifiable value, such as the actual mental and sometimes even physical transformation that your ideal clients will go through, that your actual paying clients will go through when they work with you. So people pay for that. They don't pay for, I was able to pay off $5,000 of debt and save myself $10,000 in interest over the long term, but we didn't stay on the phone for a full 60 minutes. No one does that. No one worries about that when you get them the results. And sometimes it's hard in the beginning, but just focus on helping your clients, especially your initial clients, get results, and then utilizing those results and those testimonials and that proof of concept, right? Your concept of coaching, proof of concept is the results that you get so that you can verify how you help your clients. And then you can use that in your marketing to show clients what they're really paying for, because they're not paying for your 6 sessions over the course of 3 months. Number 7, if it sounds too simple, it's probably the most effective way to go, and you're just trying to overcomplicate it. This is something I had to learn, and I struggled because I grew up with the notion that success means you work hard, because my family is successful. My parents are successful, especially financially successful, but my dad works hard, right? He has a labor-intensive job. He's out on the road a lot. He works construction, so he's out on the road a lot. He is overnight in a lot of places. He, will work and be really stressed out. And I would see that and I would go, okay, well, he's financially well off. So that must mean you just have to work really hard in order to feel and be successful. The truth is, that's not how it works. And especially when you come into service-based and online service-based business, there are things that are and can be simple that allow you to still be successful. And that's a whole nother story. We can redefine what success means, because for me, for a long time, it was more money means success. But now I realize it's like more of how I want to live my dang life is success for me. So if it sounds too simple, it's probably the most effective way to go, and you're just trying to overcomplicate it. So be willing to try it out. Even if you're like, is this too good to be true? Be willing to try it out, especially if a mentor is saying, no, you can do just this and it's going to be okay. Number 8, the riches are in the niches or niches. You guys hear me talk about niching all the time and how important it is to building your business, your successful business. Speaking of success, niching will set you free. It's another boundary. Remember how last week we talked about boundaries? Niching is another boundary. Who are you willing to work with and who are you not? And you get to set that boundary so that you, even if, yes, okay, you could choose to work with these other people who fall outside of your niche and make money. And sometimes you'll do that, especially early on, because you'll be like, I just need to make money. But the more you're willing to have that boundary and say, no, I'm not willing to go there, the easier your business becomes, and the more successful you become, because you start focusing on only helping your subset of people, and then you're able to identify them faster, convert them faster, and help them more effectively, because you don't have to be also helping people that fall out of the niche who might have different problems or different struggles, okay? So no matter how much you tell yourself that you need to help everyone or that you need to just help people for the money, remember that if you choose to niche down and set that boundary, you will actually be so much more free in how you feel from a stress perspective and how you feel from, okay, this is a sustainable and scalable business perspective, and it's just going to completely change your business. Number 9, this is from early days me, pre-super business finance savvy me. Open a separate bank account for your business, even if it's still a personal bank account, but you just keep all the transactions separate, right? So you can have a personal bank account that acts as a business bank account if you aren't ready to go through the steps of setting up like a legitimate, this is technically called a business bank account type of account, but just get yourself a separate account for your business income and your business outflows. It's just going to make your life so much easier. And if you need, sign up for my payday party workshop. It's a self-paced program. It takes you maximum 5 days to go through, and you can get it at wonderwealthy.com/party. Super low cost, but one of the best investments you can make in your business, especially from a financial perspective, because it's going to help you see how you can set up a really great financial system for your money coaching business. So set up that separate bank account. You just need 2 separate ones, one for personal, one for business, and you're going to be good. Number 10, if your client isn't following the budget or doing any of the work that you are assigning them or that you're telling them, like, this is going to get you results, it's time to go deeper and ask what's getting in the way, okay? It's probably no longer a money problem at this point, and it's more so a behavioral problem. And that can be hard for the money coach who is much more aligned with like systems and is very numbers focused, because the way that you see money is very black and white then a lot of times. And this is an opportunity for you to be willing to go through the discomfort and know, okay, I might have to challenge my client on this, and challenge in a way that you might have to just start asking questions and allowing them to explain to you what's getting in the way of them being able to utilize the budget that you have provided for them, or utilize some other tool or system that you have provided for them that is technically meant to make their life easier, but they're not allowing it to because either they themselves are getting in the way or something else in their life is getting in the way. And you're going to be a way better coach if you are just willing to go there and dig a little bit deeper in that conversation so that you can understand and uncover and start making a plan with them for how you're going to work around it or go through whatever that thing is that's keeping them stuck. All right, number 11. If you don't know how to find your ideal client, then you don't know them well enough. I know that's hard to hear, but it's true. And I'm not going to lie. It's true. I didn't know my ideal client for a long time. I was in the general camp. I did the millennial woman thing. I just said, I work with millennial women. Really having a hard time with this. I work with millennial women and I stayed super generic, and that made it so hard for me to know where to actually go and who to actually talk to in order to develop relationships and create connections and show up in their life and just show them that there is a resource for them to help them with their finances. So if you are having that hard time, you're like, I don't know how to find my clients. I don't know how to convert them into paying clients. I have no idea, how to attract people. You probably don't know your client well enough, and you need to be willing to get more specific, because the more specific you go, then you can identify those identifying qualities. Like, are they single moms? And then is there a single moms group that you can start to, that you could show up in? You can provide value. You can connect with the women in there. Right? Are they single moms? Are they military dads? Are they, there's so many different ways that we can go with this, but the more specific you can get with your client, here we go, riches are in the niches, the more specific you're willing to get, the easier it is to actually go out and find them. So if it's I don't know how to find my ideal client, then you probably don't know them well enough. So get on every social media platform, find the groups that they're hanging out in, find the hashtags that they use and they follow, and then ask them for an interview so you can further ask them, where do you hang out? Who do you follow? What hashtags are you interested in or do you use on a regular basis? Like, how can I make sure to be able to identify you and find you around these interwebs? Okay, we're moving on to number 12. It's better to make one big investment into a coach who has done what you want to do, built the business that you wish to have, than to make lots of small, scattered, individual investments that are really meant to patch the one small current pain point that you currently have. And ultimately, these small individual investments add up to probably be about the same as that big investment. Okay, so I share this because it's a lesson that I had to learn. For a long time, I thought, oh, well, the social media expert, the person who's going to teach me Instagram, they have the secret to help me build my thriving financial coaching business. Or, oh, this person who can teach me about how to systematize my business, that's going to solve all my problems. And these were $100 purchases, $300 purchases. And eventually, this would all add up. I tried to learn about Pinterest, and then I tried to learn about YouTube, and then I tried to learn about email marketing, and then how to create the best freebie. And I made all these small purchases that ultimately added up to thousands of dollars. And then finally I was like, well, I realized I hadn't gotten where I wanted to get from all of these small investments, because I think a big issue is I was, chasing the shiny object syndrome, right? But I also was learning from different experts who all ran their businesses so differently. And so they would teach me one thing from their business, one hot trick for $100 or for $300. And I would learn that, but then I didn't really actually understand how it fit into the bigger picture and what I was truly wanting to build. And so finally, I started investing in coaches and high ticket coaches and coaches who had businesses that, I wanted to build and emulate. And although I didn't have a coach who had already built a financial coaching business, because there's not a lot of people I'm one of the very few who actually teaches this. I still was able to, make my way a lot better and make a lot faster progress finally than, again, trying to just like patch all these small holes. All those small, like really easy grab purchases that you think are going to cure the problem, they never have that magic bullet. Because that's what they're built for. They're built to like patch one hole, but then like if you have a leaky boat and you have a couple of holes, you just need to build a new boat, a better boat, instead of like a new hole pops open and then you go buy something to patch that. Maybe it's better to just like get it down to the nuts and bolts and get some new wood and build it back up and get that strong foundation like we do in the Wealthy Coach Blueprint, if you know what I mean. Okay. Sorry for the plug. Number 13, you can't edit a blank page. All right, there's a lot of fear around putting your message out there. And I know there's a lot of fear around what other people will think. And especially now because there is a lot of tone policing and canceling happening right now on the interwebs. It's a sensitive time. And yes, you should be sensitive about how you say things and what you're saying, but you also have to remember that your intentions are what's important. Anyone can read anything and misconstrue it, and you have no control over that. So you can't let that control whether you put yourself out there or not, right? You know your intentions. You can come out with that, and it might be a little bit scary, but just do it, putting yourself out there. And then remember that it's better to stand corrected than to never stand at all. So whatever it is that you want to say, be it about something that you're truly passionate about or that you truly want to stand up for, or if it's something with your business, right? Like be willing to take that first step. Be willing to write that first draft and get that out there so then you can edit it from there. Okay? Stop editing yourself before you even start. Number 14, what others think of you has nothing to do with you and instead is most likely their projection of how they would feel, be, act, or think if they were you. So this one, again, goes to that fear around what are people going to think if I put myself out there as a money coach, right? I had these same fears. You're not alone. I had these same fears about my peers who I went to school with and what they would think because I was supposed to pursue this path. And, they knew me for that. And they didn't really know me as like a public persona or someone who loved to talk about money just like on the internet. So I was so worried about what that looked like. I was so concerned about what people from my hometown would think because I did grow up in privilege and I had opportunity that was granted to me because of what I was born into. And I was so afraid of what people would, think about me or that they would just be judging me and talking to other people about it and be like, who does she think she is? She didn't struggle. And that really, really that controlled me for a long time. And then I remembered that, a lot of times people aren't thinking about you because they're thinking about themselves. And then anyone who is going to talk about you and judge you for what it is you're doing and maybe even voice their opinion to you. And if it's not something where they're super excited for you and they're encouraging and they see how courageous it is for you to be like stepping up and saying what you're doing for others and how you're coming to help and that you're building a business around this mission, if they're not applauding you, encouraging you, cheering you on, offering to help, and instead they're criticizing you, that criticism, that's not about you. That's about a reflection of their own insecurities, of how they think about themselves, of how they assume you're supposed to be in this world in order to allow them to feel comfortable. It's always going to reflect back to them, okay? Just remember that. Number 15, taxes are actually fun to pay as long as you're setting aside 15 to 20% of every dollar you make so you can actually pay them. But when you get to a point where you're like, oh my gosh, I owe taxes for my business, like that's good news. And I want you to remember that. It's good news. It means you made money and it means you were profitable. So it's okay. But it only is fun if you actually have the money to pay it. So that's why I always suggest when you start making money from your clients, set 15 to 20% of the dollars that get deposited into your business account, right? Like if you're charging via PayPal or Stripe, whatever comes into your account, now go ahead and set 15 to 20% of that amount aside in a savings account that you do not touch until you talk to your accountant. And if you have more in that account than what you owe in taxes, then bingo, you just got a bonus. Number 16, I know you think you can do it better, but you can't. Hire someone to help you. Maybe you can do it better, but still, like, it's not worth the time, energy, and effort, especially if you don't really like doing it. And I know that hiring someone obviously means paying them to help you. And when you're early on in your business and you don't have the revenue coming in that really makes it make sense, it can be hard to pull that trigger. But just do it sooner than you think you need to. Because when you can free up your time and your energy so that you can focus on the really important things or the things that you do enjoy doing, that's what really allows your business to grow faster than you ever thought it could when it was just you. Number 17, fears, challenges, and problems won't go away when you hit a certain income threshold or any other tangible achievement you've been aiming for. They'll just change and evolve. So your best bet is just to expect them to come about, expect them to happen so that you know how to manage, so that you know that your job is to work your way through those challenges, that level of discomfort, and so that you're not so shocked every single time, or so that you're not telling yourself like it's supposed to get easier, it's supposed to get easier. Certain things will get easier, but new things will come about because you'll just have new problems and challenges to face. So if you have the mindset of this is, I'm expecting some things to happen, not like expecting the worst to happen, but preparing for it mentally, it makes it so much easier on you. Number 18, ignorance truly is bliss. And this lesson for me was really important in the sense that when I would look around and I would see other people doing business, doing the same thing that I did, but maybe they started 2-3 years after I did, and now they're, more successful than I am, that hurts a little bit, right? And let's be honest, we should not compare ourselves. Comparison is the thief of joy, but we do it. So I'm not going to lie, I do it too. And especially when you look around and you see people doing things that aren't to the standards that you would do them, it's a good reminder for yourself to know that ignorance is bliss. So those people, they're not better than you. They're not smarter than you. They're not more savvy than you. They're just willing to do it. They're just willing to take action and not, get in their own way in the sense of, oh, well, I'm not sure if this is really the exact right thing to say, or this is really the exact right method to do. They just kind of pick one and go, and that allows them to advance a lot faster than you. So I'm not saying that these people are ignorant necessarily, but they don't have that thing in their mind that's on constant question mode. They're just willing to take action and then reiterate later, then course correct later. So there are definitely people who are going to make it farther doing much less. And you might not want to be like them, and that's okay. But your perfectionism to be 100 times better will also keep you from achieving like they have achieved. So the fact that you care shows me that you'll be doing enough. You're doing plenty already. Now just go. Take that action, take that fast, messy action, because that's how you get to where you want to go faster and, a lot more easily than when you're constantly questioning yourself or reaching for perfectionism before you can ultimately take the actions that you know you need to take. Number 19, vanity numbers and money shouldn't be a reason to keep doing things that make you miserable. My experience with this is my YouTube experience. I was really into building a YouTube channel, and yes, there were parts of it that I really, really enjoyed. And you'll also hear me say that like there are parts of your work that you're not going to like, because this is a job too, right? This is a business, but it's also a job, and you have to clock in and clock out, and there's going to be some things that are uncomfortable. But if those things make you miserable, if they pull you further away from your humanity, then even if you have high numbers, right, high followers or a lot of subscribers, or if you're making good money from it, it's not worth it if it makes you miserable. So be willing to course correct in that regard, and know that there's still plenty of opportunity out there for you if it's on a different platform or if it's doing business in a different way. Last but not least, number 20, you need a mission and vision that's bigger than yourself. And along those same lines, you don't need to overcomplicate what that is. A lot of you just wanting to be a money coach, wanting to help people with their finances, that is a mission, right? That is a mission of helping people change their lives, helping the world become a better place, because you're allowing people to see how they can best leverage the financial tools that are available for them, or help them see, where there might be some discrepancies or where there might be some systemic issues and how they can overcome that, being on their team to overcome that, and help them work towards a better future. And on that same path, you're also helping yourself work towards a better future. And when you take care of yourself, you take care of others. And that is enough of a mission. I think sometimes we can get really wrapped up in thinking, well, I'm not doing enough, or I'm not impacting enough people, or I don't have enough people following me for me to really feel like this is a big vision or a mission. But the work that you're doing, whether you have 10 followers or 10,000, imagine yourself standing in a room with that number of people and them listening to what you have to say. That is powerful. And the work that you do to help people with their money, I mean, I always say this, we need more money coaches. We need more people who can help others, because there is a vast majority of our population that we live amongst today who don't feel financially secure, who don't feel financially confident, who certainly aren't financially literate. And it's now our job, unfortunately, like we'd love it to be earlier, but there's a lot of other things that need to be in place for even personal financial education at an earlier age to really stick, to really have weight. And so it is our job, and this is a career that's built for us to really take this mission and vision and go with it. And when your mission and vision is more about you, when it's about, only improving your life by allowing you to have a business, by allowing you to have more time and location freedom and flexibility, or financial flexibility, that's great, but you need something bigger than yourself in order for you to show up every day, because there's going to be days where you don't make money and then you're going to want to throw in the towel. So know that you are doing big things. You are making an impact. Even if you're only working with one client right now, you're changing a life. And I can personally attest to the fact, and maybe you can too, that in my old career, changing one life is one more life than I think I ever changed at my old job, which was supposed to be one of the best careers in the US. Maybe, I don't know if they even have actuaries in the world, but I definitely touch more lives and change more lives now. And I am so grateful and I feel really excited for this mission that I'm continuing to serve. And I invite you to join me. And I also invite you to tap into the fact that what you are doing is meaningful and is impactful. So those are the 20 major lessons that I learned over the past 4 years of growing this podcast and growing my business and growing myself as a human being. And I'd love to know which ones really resonated with you. Please reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at Tess_Wicks. Send me a message and just tell me like, hey, Loved number 7, really aligned, hit me right in the guts. Just tell me which ones you really took away from this episode. And with that, have an amazing end to your year. Have an amazing, happy new year. And don't forget to grab the Online Coaches Pricing Workbook. You can purchase it at wanderwealthy.com/workbook. You can get a free one by leaving this podcast a rating and a review in the Apple iTunes store or on the Apple Podcasts app. Make sure you screenshot it, email it to me, tess@wanderwealthy.com. Once I confirm, I will send you your free pricing workbook. If you want to get to the show notes of this episode and see all of my lessons typed out, you can head to wanderwealthypodcast.com/podcast/episode 200. And that's a wrap on 2020. Until next year, I hope you wander wealthy.